Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Energy Unleashed with Suzanne and Kim.
Hey,
How you doing?
everybody.
Yeah, good to see you. I have not told you anything about this one because I want your organic kind of response. That's one of my favorite things. I know, so
Here we
mean,
go.
so put you on the spot. But I think that this was an interesting thing. It was something new for me, and if it was new for me, it's probably new for you. This is a very interesting client. I've had her for quite some time. I've known her quite amount of time, just hanging out and knowing her too. And she has done so much work over the years and has been really tapped in. And she feels like she has had a million different lifetimes. We were chatting during her session, and she said, I even think that I've had, walk-ins, like maybe walk-ins or walk-outs with my soul more than even once. And she's very convinced that she's kind of totally reinventing herself. She is 75 years old right now. Doesn't look it at all. Looks like she's in her, early 50s. Crazy good, shape and keeping these body parts moving. She has had so many issues over the years and has moved through them all. She's had surgery. She's had different things. She's had loss. She's had grief. She's had all of these things, but really, really just keeps on chugging away and studying and remembering and doing all of these things. And so when we were chatting, I'm like, when I tap in, I don't know necessarily if it's like that you're necessarily bringing a walk-in in. I said, I think it's like you're traversing more of your past lives, like you're going into all of these other dimensions and you're letting those go and letting those go. And I recently on our Vibe Tribe webcast, which I encourage people, if you don't have anywhere to study, not that you have to do my stuff, but Vibe Tribe webcasts, we talk a lot about some really crazy stuff. And Vibe Tribe information is on my website, and you can check it out. It is a monthly program. All this information comes to you, but included in your $33 a month is a webcast. I mean, that's worth the 33 in and of itself. And I
Well,
always
and
teach
not only a
something of,
webcast, it's for 90 minutes. Like
yeah,
it's
90,
really good
90.
info. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one was a lot about ascension and descension.
Mm.
And I believe that this was what this client is doing. I believe she is bringing all of these lives into the human body form in a different way. It basically was crazy stuff, like she was almost reinventing herself. And that's what she was saying during the chatting part of the conversation. It's like, I am completely just reinventing myself in terms of I got rid of that. I'm done with that. I've already done that. And this is about me now, which I love at 75. I mean, she's got more energy than you can believe and just go, 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 right? And it was really fascinating to just have the talk. But when I got into the work, like I said, I've worked on her a lot and I wasn't expecting the word that I heard. And oftentimes when I do work on clients, I'll pull in my galactic frequencies, and this is what happened on her. You've had this happen
Mhm.
before. It feels like you're in a machine, and oftentimes it will feel like an MRI machine, or a lot of times it'll feel like laser lights are scanning you like this. And that's what it did do with her. It was like very galactic, very scanny, very yeah, it was a lot. And I heard clearly the word, we are doing biometrics.
What? Biometrics?
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay. And you know me, I have to go look things up because I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I just
Tell me
get
what this
information.
means exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to read it off of the internet of what it was specifically, so I don't want to screw this up. So, biometrics is physical and behavioral characteristics that can be used to identify someone, unique to each individual. Usually, it's used for security and authentication. So it's like when we are, you put your finger thing on it, or you have your face recognition on
Eyeballs.
your phone, right?
Hmm.
So physical forms of this are like your fingerprint, your facial recognition, your iris, or your retina, your hand geometry, your DNA. And then behavioral is like your voice cadence, it's your walking cadence and how you maybe type on a keypad cadence or a phone. So these are all things that are unique to the individual. And it was so interesting because the way that this stuff works is you enroll the information. Let's do face recognition, for example, on your phone. You can open it up with your face, but you have to go through the process of going into the program. Then it stores it. And then when you come online, it matches it through your system and then you can access it, right? So that's what we do on our phones, our bank accounts, obviously legal stuff, all those things are all biometrics. But I hadn't heard the word before and I thought it was super interesting because I'm like, well, what the heck does that have to do with the healing, right? So I keep going, and there is a metaphysical component to this in terms of I believe what I was doing was regenerating all of the uniqueness of her actual higher self soul blueprint. So she's getting rid of all of this stuff, and she's been doing so much dumping and so much releasing that she's getting cleaner and cleaner on what her actual soul blueprint is. And it was super interesting because it almost felt like I was going through her aura, her DNA, her soul template, and I was reprogramming her energetics from an ID standpoint. And it literally, before I looked this up, it literally was going through her eyes a lot, like, and her eyes were really messy at the beginning of this, and she was having trouble with her eyes. And we were just chatting before we went on that I'm super blurry. I think I need to do biometrics on myself. But these are quantum recalibrations that come into us. And it is usually, and it feels like a machine kind of a thing because it's coming from such a high galactic field. And it's basically light technology. So, light technology usually comes from our higher dimensions, but it feels very medical in a lot of ways. And so, we are looking at aligning with the higher self and reorganizing it and retemplating it back to the original source. So it was really super interesting and it was super cool. And I had no idea what the word meant. And then I looked it up and it was nuts. And I'm like, this is so weird, right?
Well, yeah, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, like
Yes. Welcome to my world, right? Yeah.
um
Yeah.
there's so much that you just said really like fast, like through this, but did you get a sense of why they were doing this with her? Like outside of, I mean, I get that. Are they storing that somewhere for other purpose? You
Well,
know,
I think this directly aligns to her belief system of having different walk ins.
Mm,
And I don't necessarily, again, when I scanned her and went into her higher self, they said you don't really have walk ins. But I think what she had done throughout the years was basically, in a physical, emotional, mental way on planet, was reinventing herself over and over again, because that's what we do. And she had a lot of trauma times where she just had to get through it. And I think we get off track from our original soul blueprint when we're like in fight or flight.
yeah.
And as she was releasing these, doing the work of dumping this no longer serves me, I believe that this biometric opportunity was doing its best to find her original template for her soul's contract and get her back on track and align it with that. It was really super interesting.
So, and it's really interesting because I think it's almost like a fall cleanup or a summer cleanup or something. Like you clean that up and you get back to the original that I would assume as you move on here on Earth, you're doing certain work that's different. It becomes different. But then when you leave this world, and go back to your original essence, it would be interesting to see how much that changes your like your
In between.
purpose, what you're really trying to do.
Right. And I kept hearing over and over, we are making space today. We are making space today. And I think that's super interesting because in her 3D world,
Mm.
she is considering leaving her home that she's in and going to a much smaller situation. So she's literally in real life making space in her life as well by dumping and giving and repurposing and, gifting, etc. So I think it's so interesting how sometimes that our bigger energetic work models in a micro macro relationship what we're doing in the 3D world as well, because she's doing that work anyway. And therefore the higher self as well, as long as you're doing all that and making space, lets us make space at the same time. Or the higher self is doing it, so the lower self starts doing it, vice versa.
Mhm. Right.
Super
Which is
interesting.
all that, really this time in this year, right now, this week, Lionsgate is all about this,
Yep. Making
releasing
space.
and making space. And so
Yes.
that's really interesting that there's a process to do this. You know what I mean? Like,
And
uh,
I've never I use a lot of machinery and a lot of light technology when I work, depending on who I'm working on. The galactic energies will always come in and feel like that. Many of my clients have said over the years, I feel like I was in a scan machine, or I feel like I was in a, an MRI or a CT scan or whatever. And that is that technology. But I had not ever until this last week here heard the word biometrics. And I haven't really seen it do facial recognition. It was really working on her
Mm.
facial recognition. And it was super funny because I'm explaining all this to her at the end, and she goes, "Well, good, since I'm turning 75 pretty soon, maybe you made me look even younger." And I laugh and going, "Well, if I figure out that technology, I'm going to make $1 bazillion, right? I mean,
Oh
that's
my God, I
awesome,
want that technology. Bring it on.
right? Energetic facelift."
Did you say
So
that her eyes actually improved with that process?
she was feeling her, she could feel her face reorganizing 100%. And by the time she was leaving, her eyes were doing its best to decide what to do. It
Hmm.
was super interesting. Then I went on and got more information that she's changing vibrational patterns that currently define her identity. So this particular gal struggled a lot with relationships and, an ex-husband and then some exes and then lost a love of her life ex and lots of like challenges of feeling like she always needed a partner. And this particular version of her is finding that this independence of no partner right now is really becoming her comfortable identity. And so again, when we're doing a biometric, it changes the vibrational patterns that define her current identity. So I think that's so interesting because maybe this whole presentation that it's doing energetically in her template, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change her physical look, but it could. But it also means that the presentation that is presented to somebody else is going to be saying a different message. So I don't
Mhm.
have that vibrational frequency going, I need a man, I need a man, I need a man. So also her energetic database update, who she is, how she shows up in the universe and on the planet, how we recognize her. So it is literally about her identity, which I thought was super interesting, especially again, because her perception is that she had walked in and out several times over her years. And my perception was that it isn't a walkout, it's a conscious 3D reinvention of belief systems and identity. And yet, this particular process of the biometrics said, those are all fine and dandy, but you're done with those. Now you're going to be who you really came in to be. So it's
Wow.
going to be very interesting to see what that does to her. Um, yeah. So the way that this comes through is because I am more galactic. I'm the one that can get to those frequencies, and it doesn't make me cool or special. It's just a different modality.
Mhm.
And because I can find those frequencies, it turns into a different sort of a healing. And this doesn't happen with everyone, but it's happened many, many, many times over the years, you included.
Mhm.
And it is about bringing in like a bio recalibration, working with the scalar waves, the waves of plasma, the waves of light,
Mhm.
light frequencies. It's all light, 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 and that's very high frequency galactic work. So it goes into her energy field. I'm working on her auric field, her templates, more than I'm working on the body that's laying on the table. But the body that's laying on the table gets the outcome of the blueprint, just like the contractor makes your room to look like what the blueprint should look like. Therefore, the physicality is, different, etc. So that's kind of how it is. So basically, I'm a conduit. I don't get to do anything that I'm not, led to do. I'm the channel. I'm the one that brings through the frequencies that aren't necessarily held by somebody walking around the planet. I can hold those and then, but they are the one directing it. So I don't get to just go in and change your template. I mean, it's
No,
not,
no.
it's not
Yeah,
what I
I think
do.
that's really important for people to understand because it is
Yeah.
not, when I come to you, I'm not saying fix me and do what
Right.
you need to do. It's whatever my higher self, soul self, and that connection allows to come in at that time.
And
I,
that's why it's fun for me because I get surprised. I'll start a session oftentimes thinking I'm doing one thing and I do a completely different thing because it's not, it's not me. I just am conduiting. I'm moving the energy. I'm facilitating. I'm watching. I'm keeping them safe, et cetera, et cetera. I have a big job, but it's not the actual healing. That's the gift. And so Yeah, this is oftentimes when we're doing something like this is about her soul's identity. My soul's identity and my soul's purpose and my soul, everything is different than me walking around in a human form having actual experiences sometimes.
Mhm.
So maybe, quite maybe in this case, she's had experiences that she's totally done with that didn't align with her soul, and she's got X amount of years left on this planet to figure
Mhm.
out this is still left on your contract, right?
Mhm.
It could indeed have to do with karma. I mean, karma is always in play, cause and effect. There is a piece, I would assume, because she also has daughters, that is ancestral and biology. I would assume that she's really clearing some ancestral lines, and that would make impact on her, obviously, on her Akashic records and family biology records. And so there are so many people that are doing that kind of work with absolutely no recall of that or no participation in that. They're doing it in dream state. They're doing it with other kinds of healers. I'm not the only one that does that kind of work. Many, many people know how to do, ancestral clearing, and many people know how to do that just through meditation and intention. So these are big things that are happening right now, and most often it is happening with a female lineage line because it's the female suffering that we're letting go of still.
Oh yeah.
So,
That's been a big part of my healing is the female
yep,
lineage and the suffering and the child loss, all the things. So,
yep.
but okay, so when they do you, oh, because in my head I'm like, I know we're partially an experience, right? Like we're an experiment. Um, do you think they're figuring out how to help us do the things that we're supposed to do while we're here in a different way with that kind of healing? Like,
I think I think two things. And again, take what resonates because I don't know. I mean, I'll probably die and be wrong, but who knows? I believe that more and more star seeds were placed on this planet that are coming to a crossroads with there's enough solar light coming in now that a lot of things are happening. The nets are dropped, there's access to it, it's getting into the planetary spaces, et cetera, et cetera. So therefore it's getting into the human bodies. We know that we're getting our asses kicked with this stuff.
okay.
Schumann resonance, solar flares, coronal mass injections, all that stuff is allowing more and more light frequencies into not only our system but into our bodies. So I believe a lot of star seeds were placed as healers down here to activate and coordinate when the time was right,
Mhm.
right? And be able to have those client experiences when the client was ready. Okay. This wouldn't have worked for her 20 years ago because she was still in the man phase. I mean, that was like, it wouldn't have worked. And so I think it's a combination of divine timing because the clock turns as far as like the wheel of life, et cetera, and everything kind of clicks into its gears. And so we're as a planet, as a species, as a record holder, et cetera, are allowed to have more light because of so many different reasons.
Mhm.
Therefore, this kind of light technology healing is accessible,
Yeah,
right?
which then allows us to be in the higher frequencies. Like our
Yes,
because you said it, when you're working on the aura and the physical, together, because it's hard for our bodies to accept those light frequencies, even certain
huge.
sound frequencies, right? Like, so that's really cool that there's something that can actually help us, go to that higher level.
And a lot of people are still struggling in that they are still having a lot of inflammation. They're still having a lot of issues. They're still having a lot of stuff like thyroid because it's the spiritual plane, a lot of pancreas stuff because of sweetness of life, etc. The diabetic thing, all that stuff is still being super affected by the majority of people because they're still in process of raising that vibration. And the higher you raise that vibration, the easier it is to shed those things. But that's not easy either because who the heck wants to just be, trying every day to keep your vibration up when we're getting our butts kicked? So it's difficult. She herself, this client has had numerous amounts of things go wrong. And I mean, best friends at the Mayo Clinic kind of a thing. That's how many
Oh
times,
my
sort of.
gosh.
And so it's not been an easy road. And this is the first time at her age where she's starting to say, and I've known her for years, the first time where I'm starting to hear her say things like, I don't hurt anymore. It doesn't hurt the same at all anymore. And that's fascinating to me. So I think that there is something that we
There's
want to hold on to in terms of divine timing,
there's so much hope in that. What you just said. I'm like, because this I've been
right?
getting, I've been getting my rear end kicked too. And um I'm like, am I ever gonna feel better than this?
Well,
You know?
I'm going to sidebar here and unleash a whole, kind of like verbal vomit on this in terms of, I really believe, because I've been really tenaciously not doing sugar for 5 weeks now.
Mhm.
And I actually had a sip of like 2 glugs of a white wine last night, and I almost spit it back out again because I couldn't believe the amount of sugar feeling in my mouth. It was like, oh my God.
Mhm.
But I truly believe we are poisoning our bodies in so many ways with, wheat and the sugars and the chemicals and I was driving my granddaughter up to the cabin this last weekend, and she's what, 7, and she wanted Cheetos, and so she had those puffy Cheetos, and I'm just looking at them, and every ounce of my body just was going, oh my God, they're freaking orange and they're full of these flaky chemicals, and the rest is styrofoam, and you're actually putting that in your body, and that's how we have to remember that is our norm for so long, that these bodies are going to take a really long time to go, what's my normal? What is my true identity? What is my biometric? What is my truth underneath all of these layers of not just weight or sickness or energy, but belief systems, narratives, stories, all of these things are layers and layers like the onion on us. And spiritual journeying is not easy. And I'm just, like I said, playing with this stuff just for fun. I'm practicing and experimenting on my own body. And the way that I couldn't even walk upstairs a month ago because my legs were so inflamed and my knees, I couldn't even bend them, versus what I am 5 weeks later. And I'm not even 100% into everything like deep yet. So it's crazy. It's crazy. It's all choices.
It's all
And
about choice.
there's not a good choice and a bad choice. So please, hear this, and that there's no judgment here. If you don't want to do anything like that, great. If you do, great. If you want to play with it, great. I'm just simply saying I choose to experiment and try different things all the time just for the heck of it, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in the experimental phase myself, gradually making my way through
Hmm.
baby steps. Because if
Yeah, and it's
ever I go
hard.
full bore and eliminate everything, it just sets me
Well, that's no fun either because God, you only have a certain amount of time in this meat and bone body on this
up.
planet. You might as well have some fun, right? So
Mhm.
I believe that it really comes down to, what does it feel like? What does the experience feel like? And if it feels, great for right then, who cares? Or if you're choosing to absolutely take the consequence because I'm choosing that choice and I'm 100%, so be it. It's not a right or a wrong thing, and it's not a judgment thing, but I do believe that we are so completely poisoned on this planet. I mean, we were chatting before too that this smoke is killing us in Minnesota. I mean,
Oh,
my eyes
it's
are itching, my
terrific.
throat is itching. I'm sneezing like crazy, and I don't even normally sneeze. I feel like I just got hit in the face with a baseball bat, and I can't even blink because there's so much, my eyes are itching, and it's, what the hell is that? That doesn't feel like a tree burning down in Canada, you know?
No, it doesn't. And it just seems just doesn't seem really organic like they're saying it is to me. It's too weird. And it's really bad in Minnesota. People cannot leave their houses if they have severe asthma or COPD or whatever.
Yep.
They're not able to breathe unless they have a oxygen or a mask, to go out. So that seems very extreme to me. I don't know.
It was little shards and little thoughts of that movie Interstellar, when, they're running around and there's so much dirt and they have to get off the planet. That's Matthew McConaughey is at the
Mhm.
beginning driving his truck and everything. They've got the masks and they're trying to get into the house. And I'm like, holy shit, that's what it felt like the other day. And that's terrifying. And I don't like that. And I'm not willing to put fear into that. I'm willing to put in, I do not consent to that. That's for sure.
Mhm.
But I think this is a lot of what's happening when we're shedding these things in our body. We're shedding things that are unhealthy. We're shedding things that, a life identity that no longer serves us. I no longer have to carry the identity of being a sick person or a mom or a partner or a kid or. we're, again, what I taught Vibe Tribe, we're actually descending as well as ascending. We're contracting as well as expanding. So contraction, expansion is the breath of life of ascension, descension. And this is part of the process. And people don't get that
Hmm.
because they don't like that. Nobody wants to go into denser stuff. That doesn't feel like I'm doing anything great for my ascension and my, enlightenment. Well, you're wrong. It is. It's part of it.
It
So,
is. Yeah, it
yeah.
is. And I think that that is definitely another topic that could be a whole podcast because it's
Yeah.
not an easy concept, when you were describing it and drawing it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but it
It's a
makes
tough one.
sense.
But I think it's so interesting that the biometric situation is very much about 100% complete individuality. Your eyes are never going to be the same as my eyes. Your fingerprint is never going to be my fingerprint. And there is such a message in here that we are 100% unique. So stop trying to have everybody validate you.
Hmm.
Stop trying to give your power to everything and everyone else because your uniqueness is very important. And at the very same time, you're not unique at all because you're one of the one, you're one of the all. So it's such a conundrum, right?
It is. You want to be part of the one,
Yes.
and all of but then we are unique. This
Yes. It's
whole
very,
sacred, you know, body that I get so mad at sometimes, that it's turning that around into, acknowledging the wonderful things that it actually is and that I actually love it. And it's so easy to fall off that
oh
track,
my God, for sure.
especially if you
Yeah.
watch some TV and see some commercials, you're just like,
Yeah. Staff
okay.
Facebook.
Yeah, yep. Social media and all the things. Ugh,
Well,
yeah.
especially now. I mean, everything's AI and you don't know what's real and what isn't anyway. It's
No,
ridiculous. But
there's some really freaky
yeah.
things. Like, is that? Yeah.
Well, and I love the concept of biometrics to some extent, and then part of me gets freaked out about that too, because if you're having every single thing of my uniqueness and my DNA and my eyes and my fingerprints and my everything, then I'm totally clonable. I mean, not that I'm not anyway, because I walk in Walmart. I mean, come on, it's everywhere,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So,
Oh, I'm kind
yeah,
of
it's a
giggling
little
because you're
nutty.
you're not drinking and you said you had a little bit of wine and it's all sugary.
Yeah.
That portrait back there, that picture my dad painted of a bottle of wine and a glass of wine looking at the sunset. So,
Oh, is that what it is? That is
yeah,
so funny. Oh, that's great.
that's really funny.
I can be the glass, you can be the bottle. That's fascinating. I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
adorable.
yeah. What does that say
Cute.
about me, though? I've
Yeah,
had a lot of
well,
wine in my
I
life.
mean, well, and again, wine is part of not just because it's wine, it's part of the belief system of the celebration. It's part of it's part of the concept of doing something together with certain people, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all things you can examine in life and look at.
Yeah,
But again, these are unique things about us that the biometrics will always pull out something that you don't ever have to think anybody's going to understand because they can't. They're not you. And I think that it's a cool thing to hang on to. So,
mhm, it
so
is.
anyway, I'll be curious. Maybe I'll stay posted on this one. If she starts to, feel something or experience something different, maybe we should be making notes as we go and do updates.
You know what? Because I'm curious how the one thing that you said is that her vibration, her frequency, people are going to react to her differently for sure
Yep.
coming out of that.
Yep. And so will her family. And remember, when we raise our vibration, we're going to end with this because it's a tad of a warning. When we raise our vibration and others around us don't have that frequency, we can piss people off just by being next to them.
Yep.
And we oftentimes find ourselves having cat fights or, stinky little things that are going on, kind of, poking at this or poking at that. It can be tough. And that's simply because it's like two magnets that aren't, they're wink, wink like that. And it's a mirroring process. And so have patience if you're the one that is raising your vibration and sticking to it because others can have a hard time with that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I get it.
yeah.
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 This was
Weird
a good one.
stuff.
Another good
Getting more
topic.
kind of biometrics.
I'm gonna have dreams tonight. Maybe I'll get some biometrics tonight. I wish I'd work on
Was gonna say, man, maybe you can just give
putting
me a
on
new
my eyes.
facial expression, right? So, no, you're supposed to love your body. Leave it alone.
I know,
All
right?
right, everybody. On behalf of Kim and I, thank you so much for listening. Do us a favor if you would share this with somebody that you might think will get something out of it and encourage them and yourself to subscribe so that we can bump our numbers. And please leave us a comment because we'd love to talk to you more. So until next, Cosmic Hugs.
Goodbye.